Hello, everyone, and welcome to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my hunka burning love, my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Oh, Ryan, it's the end of our series.
Mama.
It's so crazy. I can't believe it. But it is nice to finally see a film that presents Elvis Presley as an icon, a master, a true, just American genius.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to talk about Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
Ooh,
And I think it's going to be a great up.
Jay. You're doing so well. You didn't go down this bit for a while. We're not talking about Baz Luhrmann's Elvis from 2022.
I'll be honest, I did think it was weird that you wanted to conclude our Sofia Coppola series with Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
We're talking about her 2023 film Priscilla, about Priscilla Presley, that does feature Jacob Elordi as
it's so
Elvis
confusing
Presley.
because they're both first names, they're both Presleys.
Yeah. They're both set around pretty much the same time period in both films. They have
actually some of the same characters in it.
Yeah, they do. They do. Though Colonel Tom Parker is not in the Sofia Coppola film.
Not visibly or audibly.
Wouldn't it have been kind of great if, like, you know how there's that scene in Elvis, not to bring it back to Elvis, but you brought it up.
We're going to talk. We're going to talk
about Elvis
between those two films.
Yeah, we have to. So there's that scene where Elvis is crying in his mother's closet holding her dress, right? Mm-hmm. And like the camera pans to the doorway and Colonel Tom Parker, played by America's Dad, Tom Hanks, kind of just like side whooshes into frame, right? Like, you know what I mean? And it's the funniest thing, but it's also the most disturbing thing. What if he just like side whooshed into a scene here into this movie? Just out of nowhere.
They should have connected the universes with Tom Hanks's Colonel.
I'm thinking so. I'm feeling like he is he's the snowman. The
one thing I will say about Elvis, not that we'll talk about it later.
Not that we're gonna really talk about it that much.
Why was he so subtle with that performance?
You know what? That's a fair question, Jay. You know, subtlety is lost in the arts.
It's so understated. He didn't go for like a big accent or anything like that.
You know, the Academy, I'm surprised because they gave Cillian Murphy an Oscar for Oppenheimer, and it's pretty subtle work in that film. I'm surprised they didn't start the year before with Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker. I can't even get through this bit without laughing, but yes, yeah. I guess that's Elvis. Where is Santa Claus? Remember when I was like, he's just like half of his dialogue is talking about like snow and Santa Claus. Anyway, Jay, it's our last episode of our series here, buddy.
Crazy.
It kind of came.
Just kind of weird to think about how she doesn't have that many films.
She's only got eight.
She's a really big deal, and she's only got 8 films over
2 months worth of podcasts, 2 months worth of content. And but we're not alone today, Jay.
No.
We've got a great guest. First time guest. Back-to-back weeks. Really excited. We're back-to-back weeks, actually, technically. She is a writer and podcaster over for Next Best Picture, as well as AwardsWatch on occasion. She is the wonderful, talented Ema Sasic. Ema, welcome to Director Watch.
Thank you so much. I'm so scared already. I mean, this chaos looms over this podcast.
It does.
I don't know how we're going to get through this. I don't know. Maybe Colonel Tom Parker just shimmies on in on this podcast too.
See.
Look at that.
Do you have a Tom Parker impression, Ema? Putting you on the spot.
My mind just went blank. I don't even know how to respond to this. Literally, it's like the SpongeBob. All I know is fine dining and breathing, and you asked me the wrong thing.
We forgot his name.
Last time I thought about Tom Parker was leaving the Elvis screening because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore.
It's not It's not a good movie, is it?
I like Elvis.
I didn't mind Elvis. I will
Okay.
say that I didn't mind it. I was enamored with Austin Butler, as every other white woman
He's
on
so
this
good.
planet was.
And also me.
And Jay.
And you and Jay. Thank you for joining the honorary white woman club.
I mean,
It was Elvis the showman and the Colonel the snowman.
And I'm from the Netherlands, but you don't know.
There you go.
I'm from Transylvania.
Jay, I got to ask you. This is and Emma. Just thank you for being here again.
Mhm.
I have to ask Jay a really important question early into this episode about Austin Butler, because we haven't really got him on the record about this, but we have about certain wonderful, beautiful, talented actresses that are very important to Jay. So I guess the fundamental question I have to ask Jay is, Jay, Austin Butler, is he kind of important to you?
Look, he's a huge deal. He's going to be the biggest movie star. He's not necessarily important in the same way that a Rebecca Ferguson, for instance, is important to me, or
I mean,
there's
nothing wrong with him being important to you, my friend.
No.
It's
I
okay.
mean,
the man's raw sex
certainly
appeal.
not. I mean, he's an absolute beefcake. There's no denying it.
Ooh.
And,
Can I admit that I mean, even his crazy character in Dune Part 2,
Did he do it for you?
there's some charm to that
There's
too.
something there.
something about him.
He
When
might
he's licking that
literally
knife?
slit my throat at any moment, or he might bite my ear off, or like stab me in the eyes, and that's kind of like the he's spontaneous. Wow.
It's a real step on me.
I don't think that character is who you're going to take home for Thanksgiving. But
No, probably not. Other people in Dune, though, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
who would you
is
take
it-
home?
is it-
Who would you take home from Thanksgiving from Dune? Like just as a character.
I think I would take home Leia Sadu because I was so like enamored with that woman. Like literally seduced everybody around
about-
me.
Talk about somebody very important to me.
Here's a
Very
question about
important.
perhaps Iraqan Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Do you think
Uh-huh.
Paul's ingratiation into the Fremen could be Arrakis's very own Thanksgiving?
That's enough. That's enough. We're done here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're not. Thank you,
We're
Emma.
not-
Usually
we're not
it takes
going
me.
to entertain this.
I think we need Emma here every week, Jay.
I think so. We need a referee very badly on this podcast.
Oh my God, that was the greatest thing ever. Well, I was thinking about this, and I know we are going to talk about Priscilla here very soon.
I don't think so.
And yeah, no, we will, promise. There's a lot to talk about actually within this film, but I was thinking about one thing with Dune, and that was, what the hell do they eat?
Sam.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about that the other day. What the hell do they eat? It's just this lavish, beautiful creation world that Villeneuve has created, and I have never seen any of these people actually like eat a meal. And you would think that they would have like, different foods for the the different
True. I'm
cultures.
sure
or
there's
different-
some Dune nuts who are about to throw their phone against the
I know
wall.
they're gonna
Could
get
you-
angry, but
Entertain this.
Mm.
Them at a cookout, massive barbecue, and a huge sandworm is on there.
See, now we're back to Thanksgiving.
yeah, I mean,
You know what? Maybe we do have to entertain
breaking
this.
bread, breaking worm. You know what I mean? There you go. Would the worm be like? Is that meat? Is it like almost like? Can you eat it raw? Like how do you do that? How do
Yeah,
you?
it's
I imagine
sushi.
it's very
basically
tough.
sushi.
Yeah, I was like, is it like sushi? Like
Seems
where's
like a
the-
muscular beast.
I would imagine it being very calloused, and you would really have to like boil it first and then maybe grill it and
Like
like put a
sous
little
vide?
bit of
Sort of a crab situation.
yeah. Just
Okay.
like you put the sandworm in a pot of water and slowly let the water rise so that it doesn't know that it's being cooked alive. It's
Yeah.
very similar.
That's
You
fair.
boil it in the
This is very
water
good.
that they take out of all of the dead people.
Again, I think I
Yeah.
just broke Dune logic because it's like they got no vegetables, they got no grains. They've got,
I
like,
think
what the
they-
hell are they eating on that?
Again,
think
I,
they're
again,
damn
I'm sure
planet.
there's something in the Herbert book about
I'm sure there's
this, and
some
I'm sure
bullshit
Villeneuve was not
explanation for them.
terribly
Yeah, it's,
concerned with it.
yeah, I mean, I kind of
I mean,
am. I
it's
mean,
just
like,
kind of like a DoorDash, but they have like the spaceships from other planets coming because I feel like there's more to offer there. There
they're
has
just
to
like
be.
dropping off. They're just dropping. Here's your galactic pizzas. You know what I mean? And so, hope you guys are doing well. All right, okay.
Hope
It's
all's
just a
well here.
yeah. Tip us, please, if we got here in time. No. Side tangent done. We're here to talk about Priscilla, which is Sofia Coppola's last film in our filmography in our film series, not filmography. Well, I guess in her filmography for right now, her most recent one, and it was just released
Eternals
last.
too.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, right? Didn't we establish she
that
would make
what's
the next
next?
Spider-Man movie? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know something.
she did work
Whatever.
with Mary Jane, Kirsten Dunst for a long time.
She did.
So.
That's her girl.
Actually, a Zendaya in a Sofia Coppola movie would be very, very interesting. Anyway, Emma, before we get into Priscilla and start talking about that film, I am curious about your relationship with Sofia Coppola, her films, and what you think of her overall as an auteur director.
I am very into Miss Coppola. I always enjoyed the women that she works with. We just mentioned Kirsten Dunst, but we also have a little bit of Nicole Kidman going on in there, a little bit of Miss Elle Fanning, I believe, from The Beguiled, if I'm remembering correctly.
And
So like these
somewhere.
are,
Yeah.
yes, I mean these are all my little girlies out there. So it's always a pleasure to kind of see what she has going on in a film. And I like the way that she focuses on women and the internal struggles that they're going through, like Lost in Translation, Marie Antoinette, very much this film. And then we also have something crazy as The Bling Ring, which is like totally different and fun and colorful and just full of crazy accent work. And I love it. But I do really like, I always seek out to see what she has. And I will admit that I haven't seen all of her films. I'm working toward that as well. But so far, everything that I've seen, I've really enjoyed.
The good thing about her movies is they're not very long and they're not very many of them.
Yeah.
She's worked for 25 years and she's as a director and writer, and she's only made 8 films, and her longest is
crazy.
Marie Antoinette, and it's like 2 hours and 2 hours and 5 minutes. So like everything's pretty like hour and a half, hour 40. This is an hour 50. So this one's a little bit longer.
Yeah, but by today's movie standards, that's not that long.
No, it's not. I mean, like shit. Like her dad's best friend, one of her dad's best friends, is making a 3.5, movie about the Osage. Everybody's making their 3-hour epics, and she's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna be real edgy and make close to 2 hours of a movie." You know what I mean?
And
I just wanted to make
honestly,
sure
we
Madam
respect
Web
her.
is longer than this movie.
Is it?
It
Yes.
should be. Excuse me, it should be. How dare you? Best movie of 2024.
There's a lot to unpack with that one.
I haven't seen Madam Web. Should I actually watch it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna
Should
watch
I-
it when we do our S.J. Clarkson
Oh,
series.
excuse me. So you're shaming Madam Web for its runtime and you have not even given it a chance? That's very typical. I don't even know you that well, and that's very typical.
I mean, you know me well enough.
Do you guys
where-
do you two think you can handle this for the rest of the ep? Because I'm embarrassed.
Taking no prisoners today.
So let's talk about Priscilla, which is which stars Cailee Spaeny and Jacob Elordi, and of course is a film that is about teenage Priscilla, who meets Elvis Presley, the man who's already gone and basically become the global superstar, while he's in the military, and she develops a crush with him, and it turns into a relationship, and and then kind of just becomes then his wife, and there's a bunch of other stuff in between. There's a lot to unpack, I think, though, in between the lines of what this movie is about, which is based off Priscilla Presley's memoir, which is about the times that she kind of went through. And it is coming off the heels last year, or I guess in this case, the year before in 2022 with the Austin Butler film that really doesn't have a lot of Priscilla's perspective in that film. So it's completely different. There's some controversies behind the scenes about that maybe help or hurt this film, depending on what you think. But it was released at the Venice Film Festival last year. Cailee Spaeny won the Volpe Cup for Best Actress, and it was highly reviewed as one of the best films of the year. So Emma, I have to ask you. I know we've asked about a lot of other films that are a lot less recent, but this is the most recent one probably that we've done within a series. I will say that. What are your thoughts on Priscilla and in the film? And was this the first time? Did you had not seen it last year, or did you rewatch it for the show?
I rewatched it.
Okay.
Rewatched it, and when I watched it last year, I was really like head over heels for this film just because I loved both Cailee and Jacob's performances. That kind of like really sucked me in. And what I enjoyed was seeing this private life because I know we'll talk about a little bit of Elvis from 2 years ago, but that one was very much like the showman side of Elvis. And I feel like a lot of the other portrayals that we've seen of Elvis, it has focused more on that, who he was, how he charted the charts and became this huge pop culture figure still to this day. So I kind of enjoyed this quieter approach to this story, and especially getting more Priscilla's side because it is wild to think that a 14-year-old girl goes from being on a West German military base to then dating the most iconic and biggest figure in music at the time. And I never even thought about like how lonely that must have been for her and how difficult it is to be dating somebody of that stature who is being chased by women all the time and being lusted by all these people, and just the personal struggles that he faced in his private life too. I really enjoyed that aspect of this film, and so I really loved it. On this rewatch, I did kind of recognize a bit more of its flaws, and they're not like too egregious flaws, but I feel like that there are definitely a lot of scenes that are, maybe not progressing the narrative as much, and maybe they're just there for like the visual beauty of this film, which I love too. I love the production design, the costumes, the makeup, the transformation that Priscilla goes through, where it literally seems like she is aging before our eyes, and it's just the makeup and hairstyling work at play. So I found and recognized that there are some scenes that, we don't really need this. This kind of takes things away. Maybe it is a very quiet performance from both of them, and maybe it doesn't allow them to shine as much, but I still really, really loved both of them, and I was really impressed with both of them because I mean it's a huge role for Cailee, really like a big debut for her. And then I feel like Jacob Elordi was just on a really great streak last year in terms of showing that he is capable of doing serious work. And so I just thought it was a perfect pairing with them too.
J-Dog, we never
Yes,
talked
sir.
about this movie, you and I don't think, back and forth last year. I
No.
never had a moment where I was
So-
like, I didn't know if you, I know that with Jet and everything, your kid, you're catching up with a lot of films at home. And I think,
This was definitely an end of year screener.
yeah. And so I knew it was like a catch up film for you. So these thoughts are going to be rather fresh from you, my friend. So what do you think of Priscilla?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a film I really, really liked last year. Not, upper crust of 2023 for me, but, somewhere in the 20 to 25 of the year range. And I think Cailee Spaeny may have been my personal best actress winner last year. I think she is kind of a revelation in this movie.
Mm.
And that was definitely my biggest takeaway. I think Emma's kind of onto something where maybe a Sofia Coppola movie is just supposed to be like an hour 40, because that's what most of her movies are, like an hour 30 to an hour 40. I think they're are some instances in this film where you're like, okay, I think we already kind of established that.
Mhm.
But again, to Emma's point, it is so aesthetically pleasing that it's almost like, okay, that's fine. And this is an absolutely gorgeous film, again, with an incredible central performance. Jacob Elordi, so tall, so tall. Uh,
So
Elvis, not
tall.
that tall.
No.
Obviously, there's this symbolic thing about Elvis being so tall in this film and kind of overshadowing her and the intimidation that comes with that height in this film, which I think is very effective. But it's a really impactful film to me, I think, because it does exude such a sense of loneliness to it. And certainly when you put it up against Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, again, a movie I like a lot for like the exact opposite reasons that I like this film. It does just completely reframe that entire story and reframe the Elvis mythology. And certainly to an extent, although these are both kind of subjective tellings of their experience, this feels like a more honest depiction of that relationship. I'm sure there are some creative liberties taken or perhaps some half truths that are displayed in this film, but you can certainly understand. I mean, she was 14. She was 14. Do you remember being 14? I had no idea what the hell I was doing when I was 14 years old. I was a child, an
Some say yeah, you've
absolute
never grown
child.
up since you were 14.
Many people have said that, not just some.
Emma would
Many people
probably
have
say
said
that
that.
tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm making a
I'm
terrible,
not
terrible
saying
first
anything.
impression.
I
Terrible
am
first
not
impression.
saying anything.
But but it's so interesting that it is presented in this film as sort of a match for Elvis because Elvis is presented as childish, sort of stuck in the state of arrested development. His relationship with his mother, which isn't directly addressed here, but it's always sort of like there's this lingering mama's boy thing that he has that he never really fully escapes, that I think can partly be attributed to perhaps his attraction to this young girl when he is in the military, in addition to the fact that there just weren't that many young women in West Germany at that time, obviously. Um, but there are also these moments where you can kind of understand why Priscilla would be so attracted to him at certain points. He does have this inherent charm to him. And what Elordi is able to do is really balance that anger that he possesses in this film that I would say Austin Butler doesn't have in Elvis and isn't asked to have in Elvis. Um,
Yeah,
but
I would agree with that too, because there are instances where, I mean, you look at him and you're like, oh, like, of course, who wouldn't want to be with
yeah,
this man? He's tall, he's
so
handsome,
tall.
he's so tall. That's what women love. But then he's also a nightmare and like is just somebody that you can't even like be honest with because it might set him off and it might anger him, as we saw in the recording session where he's saying that he doesn't
Yeah,
really like the songs and then she says, yeah, I don't really like it, and then he's like, what did you just say, and like throws a chair at her, and it's like,
yeah.
excuse me, sir. So it's like the you could be perfect. We could have it all, but then you have to be yourself.
Yeah, that is a very jarring sequence in a good way. I mean, it's horrifying. Uh, and Cailee Spaeny, just she exudes such grace in this film, and this is one of the best examples of somebody completely capturing being a 14-year-old and then completely capturing being, what is she by the end of the film, like 28, maybe 30, something like that. She feels in the same film
Probably not
filmed,
even that old,
you know,
Jay.
maybe, yeah,
Probably
20.
maybe
I think it's a
22,
little more than 10
23.
years. I know it's at
Yeah.
least 10 years that pass in this film.
Yeah.
So maybe she's like 25. Um,
Yeah.
but she is really able to capture a true sense of being 14 and then also being in your mid 20s and also being this completely innocent person with no life experience, and then this person who has experienced things that none of us can even imagine.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's probably the most impressive thing about her performance. I like this film a lot. As I was thinking about it, I was like, this is Sofia Coppola's best movie in like 12 years or something. I think there's a very clear split between her first 4 films and now her last 4 films. And I think this is the best film of the second wave of her career. So I like this movie a lot.
I really like On the Rocks, but I will agree with you, Jay. I think that this is her best film since Somewhere. And I remember watching it last year, press screening, and I was really looking forward to it because I did not like Elvis. Because I don't like Elvis, not because of its directorial style or in Baz Luhrmann sort of just like throwing everything in the kitchen sink, even though that at times can be a lot to take in. And there are sequences in Elvis, like the Christmas special. I know we joked about it earlier, but the Christmas special that Elvis puts on and makes it's incredible. It's phenomenal work by
that's just
Luhrmann.
Movie star power.
But again, that's like if like the movie was just like that sequence, it would probably be the best movie of the year. But there's
This
a
might
bunch
be
of
one
other
of the
shit.
premier examples of how we watch films differently, where I'm like, just overwhelm me, and I'm just like, there is so much plot wise, narratively, where I'm like, whatever, this is so kind of traditionally bland in that way that something like a Bohemian Rhapsody is, for example. But that movie is just such a nothing burger in the directorial, visual department. And
well,
Elvis is like a Wachowski's movie. The thing I can most closely compare it to is Speed Racer. Like the way that it's edited and cut together is like Speed Racer.
I think Elvis would have been perfect had it only focused on the Las Vegas years, because that really is when you get like him at his peak and where like Austin is really shining, and then you also had him at his lowest where he is on the brink of death literally and like losing everything. I enjoyed Elvis, but I just remember watching, because that part of the film was like an hour and a half long anyway, so it was like, oh, okay, here's the movie.
I think that the cradle to graveness of Elvis, the being a nearly 2.5 hour film, starting from when he was found, and also using it really as the plot device of like, your narrator is Colonel Tom Parker, and I mean, like a lot of that, and Hanks's really bad performance. Like it's
good.
He's not
Good
good.
performance.
He's not good. No, but I mean, like Butler's very good in that film. The problem with that movie is what Jay you're alluding to is like it's the biopic-y Bohemian Rhapsody, cradle to grave, artists attached to the story and curating their own version of history and the truth, and also not reckoning with any of the consequences or things that has happened in because of Elvis, like not tackling they kind of mention it literally. There's a scene where he's going to a jazz club and he's like, what's that song? I want to steal that. I want to do that one. And you're like, wait a fucking minute. Like you can't just overtly, literally do what the man has done to black artists throughout his entire life and just throw that in there as a side note. Like, you can't do that. But then also too, what is undercut is his relationship with Priscilla Presley in that film. And what is in that, I don't even know the actress who played her in that film, because she's given nothing to do in that movie.
Maybe 3 words.
It is. Film. Yeah, like, people got mad at like Margot Robbie and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and how bad that looked. Like, there was at least a somewhat of a character even without words there. This is just like, hold the bag for Austin Butler until he has an epiphany.
Olivia DeJonge, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I until Jay said that, I didn't even know. I
definitely didn't look that up on my phone.
He's been holding it in this entire time.
He had it in the chamber the whole time. but there is a sense of complete sadness behind Elvis as a person. I remember growing up and my dad telling me stories about how the only way Elvis Presley could see like a movie in a movie theater is he had to watch it at like 2:30 in the morning, and he had to buy out the place. He had to pay the guy extra, and he had to and then he had to have like 3 cars there to get him out of there. It was, it was just to go to a movie, do something that you and I normally can do during the week. And
we
so
see that with our celebrities now today too. They literally can't do anything without a camera or like somebody recording them on Instagram, being posted online. And it's like, I just wanted to get a smoothie, please stop.
But then,
and then in this film, there's the added bonus of there's that, I think, great sequence where she's playing with the dog in the front yard.
Yes.
And then it's like, you can't be doing stuff like that.
You can't just play with your dog out here, and you're like, the fuck I can't. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. She's like, you really have to think about things. And she's like, I'm just sitting playing with my dog.
She's just doing something innocent.
Also, I'm like 16.
Yeah. I also didn't necessarily ask for this, but
yeah,
okay.
like and that's the other thing too, is like it presents in Elvis that this is like the greatest love story of all time, right? But there was a book that she wrote that further explains that this is weird. This is a weird story. Like like Jay, you're mentioning, like she's 14 years old. He's 24 years old. It's Emma's mentioning it too. It's right after, like, he goes to war right after his mother passes away.
He's tall. She's short.
She's short. You know what I mean? Like cats and dogs living together.
Macaroni and cheese. It happens.
Yeah, exactly. And so like you watch it and you think about, it's the ultimate age gap problem. You know what I mean? That and it's historical because it's played out in this film exactly like he dated her for years and kind of groomed her for years to then be his wife, while he was then able to go and do and have all these things that may or definitely may have happened in the tabloids. And he can justify it because he's Elvis Presley. And so in Elvis, he's sympathetic because he's being duped by Colonel Tom Parker. But it doesn't fully go down the rabbit hole of the
but you're
manipulation.
You're just asking for a different movie.
No, I'm asking for I'm asking for what this movie does, which is paint a full picture. You can be the superstar, but there's also something else behind it. Right, and there's another version of that story. It's too neat.
But Ryan, to that point, this isn't the full picture of the Elvis legacy, right? This is part of the picture of the Elvis legacy.
It's a better representation probably than he's a victim and he can do the things that he does and get away with it.
Certainly, he was exploited by somebody and she was exploited by somebody. Both things can be true.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, it's a tragedy, Jay. What I'm saying is it is a big tragedy, but to only paint one side of that tragedy and not see that he was a manipulative monster in his own way, and that this girl had a very weird life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that the circumstances of this family,
about Priscilla. This isn't painting the legacy of Elvis.
And
this
is
barely about Elvis.
No, this is about his legacy. This is about his wife, his family, everything. This is just as much as about him as it is about her, because of she'd be still on that base and probably married to some normal Joe down the road.
This movie wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just think about
the book's called Elvis and Me. That's what her book is called, Elvis and Me. Not
just in
Priscilla.
General, when you look at this film, like everything that she does is because he tells her to do it.
Yeah.
You need to color your hair black. You need to wear heavier eye makeup.
Don't wear brown because it reminds me of the military.
I really like this dress. No.
It doesn't.
You can't. No,
you can't pull that off. Darker hair.
He wakes up from like a 3-day slumber, and the first thing he says to her is, "What are you wearing? Those prints don't look good on you." And he's like, "Take that off, return that immediately."
I mean,
And even
yeah,
it's all
even
about
like
his
taking,
image through her perspective. Like she never gets to
it's all
fully.
about her being manipulated. Yeah, I mean, the very
Yeah.
first scene is what, her painting her nails, putting on fake eyelashes, putting on lipstick, doing her hairspray.
even going to
Yeah,
give birth, she puts on makeup
Yeah,
first
she
before
has to.
anything
Yeah,
else.
she has to look and presented for the cameras so that he looks like he has the perfect wife. He has the perfect. He's going to have
yeah.
the perfect child. It's all through his perspective, and that's deeply, fundamentally tragic to a young girl, to anybody.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that what, and I'm going to leave the comparisons alone so we can start talking about this film. But what I will say is that movie, that other movie, you can explore both of those within something that I've been manipulative and I've been manipulated, and how can then I maybe see that, and how that this is a vicious cycle going on and on. I mean, it's no different than we hear all, we're going to be dealing with this here next year or the year after when the Michael Jackson biopic comes. And however you feel about his life and whatnot, the actions that he may or may not have based off of the allegations that he's had against him, it's also because he was completely abused as a child. It doesn't justify what happened, but
Also, I
when
bet
he's
that stuff isn't going to be touched on because they need the
exactly,
estate to sign off on the movie,
exactly,
to add the
exactly.
songs, which this film did not do, and I think that is a huge asset
Oh, it's a
to this film.
massive asset to this movie because it's almost as if like it's the music and sort of soundtrack of maybe her taste in a lot of ways,
Yeah, it turns it into Marie Antoinette kind of, where it
which is
kind of
great.
decontextualizes itself from its era, and I
Yeah.
think turns it into something that modern audiences are a little bit more familiar with to great effect, I think.
And I think it's also really sad that there was pushback from the Presley estate,
Well, I mean, of course there
Riley
was.
Keough.
They couldn't film at Graceland. They had to
Yeah.
like recreate everything. Even I remember reading before Lisa Marie's death and before this film came out, she was not pleased with this film, and I think she was very angry with her mother for backing this too. Even though, this is your mother's perspective. Maybe there is some,
It's the
some changes here and there,
yeah.
but your mother wrote a book about this. She clearly had a very lonely and manipulative time in
And
this
how
relationship.
interesting is it that beyond the grave, Elvis is still manipulating the women of his life, and Lisa Marie Presley, who sadly has passed, and now Riley Keough, who is his granddaughter, who also went out and attacked this film, and not allowing Priscilla to have her story out there. It's only about Elvis and keeping that image completely intact, rather than having a conversation and dialogue of a very interesting, flawed American figure. And that's what I think that this movie does so well, is it presents that the story that you all think is this, great rock and roll star of all time. He was a very, very, very manipulative and different perspective than what you just saw on the front page of a newspaper. And also, primarily, this is a movie about an innocent girl being stuck in a cage, which is what which is what Sofia Coppola is known for in sort of examining in her films. And what I also found very interesting about this is Coppola, like Marie Antoinette, using a historical figure to maybe look also within potentially any personal things that she might have seen, or anything that she might have felt being part of a very historical family within themselves, and how image and perception can be. So it is very empathetic, even though yes, Elvis is a monster at times in this movie. It's still empathetic to him, and it's still very much empathetic to her. I think Cailee Spaeny is extraordinary in this movie, and I think Jacob Elordi is fantastic and equally as fantastic as Austin Butler. There are moments here that you see.
They're doing so, like I kept thinking about like who's better in this. They're just
I'm not saying
even
who's better,
doing
Jay. I'm just saying that we only ever hear Elvis conversations or people talk about Elvis performances right now from people talking about Austin Butler.
Yeah, that's because the
But-
Elvis movie is about Elvis.
Yes, but he's also just as good and also didn't have to like destroy his voice in order to get there. And he's doing the other stuff that we don't get to see in that other film. And I think they're both equally as good playing this figure.
And the funniest thing about it is that the only thing Jacob Elordi knew about Elvis was from Lilo and Stitch.
There you go.
Which to me is very endearing.
There you go, buddy. Yeah.
That's very
And
cute.
Lilo and Stitch, very important.
Very
movie in
important.
this household.
very important. But yeah, I think it's
my toddler.
I think from the beginning, like the idea of like this guy who's got his wife and they're like, hey, you come into this, place a lot and have a milkshake. You want to meet Elvis
like
Presley?
Elvis?
Yeah, you like Elvis? You're like,
Yeah, Elvis's
what
handler.
You're like, what the hell is going on here? This is like,
But also, yes.
but also,
Can
yeah,
I
but
have-
also,
Can I have milkshakes at Elvis's house?
yeah. I mean, like, what girl? I mean, what girl is going
What
to say
girl
no?
wouldn't say no?
Especially
Exactly.
a girl living on a military base. That's got to
Of
be the
course.
most boring
Like-
thing in the world.
What I really love about this film is also just tracking her, the way she regards Elvis. Because in the beginning, so shy, so enamored with him, like being like, "But he picked me. Like he wants me. He needs me."
His
And
mom
then-
died. He needs me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then she moves into Graceland and she's like, but I want him. Why doesn't he want me anymore? Like, why do I keep having to fight for this? And then it moves into the later part where she literally has like no fight left to give. And if like that one scene where he was like, I think we need some time apart. And she's like, okay, just let me know when to go. And then it's like the tables have totally turned. And then he's the one who's like, wait, hold on, I didn't mean it. I
Mhm.
love all of those different like periods where that relationship naturally changes because you no longer consider him this larger than life figure. He is a guy who is messed up and like not taking care of himself, and nobody is really asking him or like telling him you need like some help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this wonderful reversal where at the beginning of the film, she's like, please, can I go to LA? I want to go to LA with you. And he's like, no, baby, you can't come. And then, and then later in the film, when she
Thank
is
you, Johnny
allowed
Bravo.
to come and he's sort of kind of given into that part of their relationship, he's like, oh, you need to leave, baby. And then she's just like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Just like Emma said, she's like, okay, this is I am my own person now. Like I don't need to rely on you to inform who I am.
Yeah.
Also, the
And-
fact that he tells her this as she is like 7-8 months pregnant, like we need to
crazy.
take a break, and she's like, "Oh, really?
Yeah, like,
Interesting."
really interesting. Maybe you should have thought about that 7 to 8 months ago when you decided to give me this. You
Yeah,
know
It's
what I
when you
mean?
actually one of the
finally-
most disturbing moments in the movie.
When
Yeah.
you actually finally decided that it was time for us to be intimate because you've been holding out for like 6-7 years at that point and telling me, "Oh, this is very sacred. I will tell you when it's
I
time
mean,
to do this."
then I can understand why Lisa Marie would get a little upset about like basically being like, your dad didn't want you even before you were born, let alone afterwards. You know what I
Whatever you
mean?
want to do, baby.
You know,
I'll
I
support
mean-
you.
Yeah, I will say that there is one thing about this movie that on the rewatch, I'm still not the biggest fan of, and I think this movie wraps up way too quickly. And I think that it doesn't feel as natural as progression, or it feels speed up to get her out of there. And this movie is very methodical in its pacing, and I think in a good way, to sort of show both sides of the coin. Again, about this movie, I think is very balanced in trying to show the moments of pure rush of what it is like to be married to the biggest superstar on the planet, and then the mundanity of being married to the biggest
Excruciating
superstar
Oh
on the
my
planet.
God.
You know what I
And
mean?
I think that's why I'm okay with it kind of being like a faster ending because like we have all of her reasoning like
yeah.
right there. Like we see the good parts, but like the bad really outweighs any and all of the good. So like by the end, it's like, well, what other choice does she have? Like
Well,
that
yeah.
she has to choose herself. And she says it like,
The only thing
And
that doesn't make sense to me, Emma, is like, did she not take Lisa Marie with her? Like, where? Like, because she's driving off.
I
I'm
think
like,
she's in there somewhere.
she's got to be in the car or something. Because like, there's no way that. But if not, if she's stuck there at Graceland, I mean, that would have been that would have been kind of maybe something interesting to explore. Like,
I'm guessing that she's probably like in the LA home or wherever,
maybe,
because she's like,
yeah.
a nanny is taking care of her or something like that, and she's just picking up the last remaining
I just
broken
feel
things.
like that's the one aspect where I think Coppola, she got very close with Priscilla Presley and they both connected into this bond. So going back to the other point about Elvis, like this is where I think it gets a little too close to the material here or to the book, is that, there are some other questions that they could still talk about or they could still explore, or really the system that surrounds Elvis continuously still until he passes is a fascinating system. All those maids and handlers and friends and these things that enable him. No one says what he's doing to her is a bad thing. No one ever says that. And so I think that would have been kind of interesting to see, like, he doesn't really put up too much of a fight with her to leave, but he would if with his daughter kind of being involved, I guess, also too. But by then he's in the drunk pills Vegas phase of his life.
When she goes and when they're like, Elvis wants to see you in his room before the show. Oof, that scene is tough.
Rough. It's rough. But
He's
Elordi's
just
so good in that.
wasted, starts assaulting her. Ugh.
It's rough.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. But also, he's still so powerful at that time, and yet,
well, he's so powerful, and his motivations have completely reversed. Where he has this kind of fake purity earlier in the film that he's completely abandoned and given into his kind of.
He literally says, like, "I'll show you how a man treats this woman, like how he's supposed to like please her," and it's like the last thing in the world that she wants.
Because he like courts her and everything. He like goes and does everything by the book, only to then add her as like a snow globe in his house on his mantelpiece. You know what I mean? Like that's what she kind of feels like a piece of, like it feels like, oh, okay, I got this. Now I can go and run off and make movies and be with starlets and be, oh no, baby, no, none of that's real,
There you go.
And also when he says, like, I'm expecting my woman to be okay with this, like to not question, to never like show any emotion over this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, are you crazy? Like she's just supposed to see every newspaper article with you and Nancy Sinatra or whichever starlet you're with, and her to be like, oh, hee, that's fine.
And then also, just let's take the fact that, again, she's not a typical housewife or girlfriend at the time. She's a 14 to 17-year-old girl. So the tabloids and
she was 18 when they got married.
No, I'm talking about like before when she visited and moved in and everything. She wasn't. There was a 3-year, and so the idea of a teenager being obsessed with tabloids and celebrity gossip and all that is what got her in the door that night to meet him in the first place. And then that's all she has. That's the only way. Again, this is supposed to be the love of his life, quote unquote. And she's still as connected to him as when she was on that base.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find that to be so heartbreaking yet fascinating.
And to your point about the kind of gossip of it all, it very much connects to several other Sofia Coppola projects where I think there is, to a certain degree, and you mentioned kind of the empathy that this movie does have for Elvis at certain points. It's kind of like, how is he supposed to be normal? There's nothing normal about this.
I mean,
it certainly manifests itself in evil ways.
Yeah, I mean, don't beat your wife. Yeah, no,
well,
don't do that.
I'm totally with you. But I mean, you said earlier that it empathizes with Elvis to a certain degree, and
it does.
And I think
it does.
Is the way that it most does so. I think.
I
let her pick a dress every now and then, for Christ's sake. God damn.
It is. I mean, to be clear, it doesn't shine him in a good light.
No, it doesn't.
I also thought that like the film, not that it's like making excuses for him in
Mhm.
any regard, because it obviously is showing what he is doing behind the scenes. But I did think it was kind of interesting where it was like, you know, unfortunately, how common was this story to everyday women? Their husbands were telling them what they could do.
Yeah.
They, were expected to be home, be ready with whatever martini glass in hand, or like, have the kitchen, have the home cleaned, have the meal ready, pamper the kids, do all that stuff. It's like nobody was speaking to those women. Nobody was asking them, are you okay? Is this the life that you always wanted? So I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, he was part of that generation, for
Yeah.
better or worse, unfortunately. And thankfully we're
Regardless,
at a
yeah.
point where we can reflect and say, yeah, that was not that great.
Regardless of the lived experience, it was all about presentation. Right?
Yeah.
And that kind of relates to another movie we did a couple series back, Ryan, with Far From Heaven.
Yes.
Todd Haynes. Yeah.
I think also too, I mean, like, I think Priscilla and May December are a great pairing because both of those movies are about perception, and they're about the perception of these very powerful people that are older, weaving a narrative with these fragile pieces in the middle. And then there's entertainment factors. I mean, obviously both films go at it in very different ways, but
Yeah,
I
May
do
December is sort of about what does it mean to make Priscilla. That's sort
Yeah.
of what May December is about.
but this is more like in the like of what like of just like how Priscilla got here in the in the first place. And no, I go back to what you're saying, Jay. I don't think that like Elvis, I don't think he's like treated like garbage here, though. I don't think like he's like, it's not a full on lynch mob or anything, but he's not painted with extremely vibrant colors and just glossed over like he is in the Luhrmann film. And I think that provides interesting places
the Luhrmann
to
movie
explore.
is about the idea of
Yeah,
Elvis.
it's about the myth. It's about I mean, that movie is essentially okay. I think we can both agree on this. That movie is definitely a movie about Tom Parker's relationship with Elvis, and he is the vocal point narrator, and Elvis is definitely a bigger part of that film, but it's not necessarily just 100% Elvis's focus. And in this film it's Priscilla's perspective of Elvis too. I think we've seen, though, throughout history, we've seen a lot of other iterations of just it being through Elvis's perspective, and they're both interesting ways of kind of doing it. One, though, paints him better than the other, but they're both, I think, interesting pieces to an overall puzzle of somebody that was deeply manipulated on, passed that down, but then tragically probably didn't live long enough to have any chance to reconcile or be able to look back and reflect on those, because he dies, not long after she leaves him and everything. Right. So, and before Lisa Marie or any of the rest of his family kind of are grown adults.
You ever have you ever seen the Kurt Russell Elvis miniseries directed by John Carpenter?
I've heard it's really good.
I've heard it's good. I haven't seen it.
I've heard the what is it, the Jonathan Rhys Meyers TV movie where he plays Elvis is really good.
Well, and we have thrown a lot of shade at Jonathan Rhys Meyers on this podcast.
We did. Well, did we though? Because that episode never existed. So
that was the one you lost.
It's the famous lost episode of Director Watch. Yeah,
man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, buddy.
That was disappointing.
But Jay, I do want to ask you, and Emma, you can obviously chime in this as well. But Elordi, where do you stand on Elordi because you're all in on Butler, and I think a lot of people bought their stock on Butler as a movie star. Do you think Elordi has the same kind of potential to be there as well?
First of all, let me just say my Butler stock is paying off after Dune 2. People are loving him in Dune 2.
Let's reevaluate that when you talk about the Bike Riders, a movie that
I mean we will certainly, and he's doing an Aronofsky movie, which would not be my first choice for.
Might have to sell some of the stocks.
Vehicle with. Yeah. But Elordi, look, I don't have a ton of experience with Elordi.
You're not a big Euphoria guy.
Inherent presence to him, Even in something like Saltburn, a movie I don't particularly care for, he certainly grabs your attention.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I put him at a hold on the movie star stock market.
Oh, you would.
I'll say that.
You're not selling, you're holding, or would you buy him?
Yeah, it's a hold. If I was on Mad Money, I'm giving it a hold.
Okay. All right.
I think there's definitely potential with him. I think there's still plenty that he can, improve upon. But I think like I said, he had a really good year last year
Yeah.
with this and Saltburn to show a different side of him and just how charming he is and like how he invites you in because in Saltburn, like you are just at least I was super enamored with him and I was like, wow, yeah, who wouldn't want to be friends with this guy? Who wouldn't want to fall in love with this character?
I was going to say, he weaponizes his sex appeal very well in both of these films.
He does.
I've also seen like two movies he's a big part of. Like it's not he hasn't done a lot of stuff.
I mean,
well,
you were buying
Euphoria.
stock,
and I haven't watched Euphoria.
Yeah, I mean, you were buying.
Seen Euphoria.
You seen The Kissing Booth?
I have seen The Kissing Booth actually, and we have made significant improvements with him. But I mean, even on Euphoria, he's kind of a crazy character on that show and like really scary. And even in that, he's really good. So I think there's a lot of.
He's going to have plenty of time because that show's never coming back. It seems like.
Yeah. So I mean, like I think that there is definitely like star potential with him. But yeah, Austin Butler, I'm all in on him too, especially with. I mean, obviously Elvis. Huge star-making role, but then to see him really go feral and crazy in Dune Part 2 was really cool, and so I think he's great.
I'm just saying, I think we can. I think I would buy just as much stock into Butler as or for Elordi as I did with Butler after Elvis. Like I think they're both very. We're going to see a lot of them in the future. I mean.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a shortage of Elordi projects.
No, I mean Elordi is working with Guillermo del Toro next.
Yeah,
he's playing Frankenstein in his Frankenstein movie with Oscar Isaac.
In the Kissing Booth,
or he's playing the creature.
Is he the person at the Kissing Booth, or is he a customer at the Kissing Booth?
He's actually the booth itself because he's so big.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's a bad business model for him to be in the Kissing Booth, unless there's a step stool or something.
Like it's about. Correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, but the Kissing Booth is about a girl played by Joey King, who falls in love with, and this booth that she walks into transforms into Jacob Elordi, and that's what it's like a Beauty and the Beast sort of like. What if the candelabra turned into like a real life person sort of thing?
Yeah, she like really loves Home Depot and Lowe's, and she loves going there to like buy the wood to make this Kissing Booth, and then she falls in love with the crayons and the markers and the stickers, and then it becomes Jacob Elordi, and she's like, holy cow, wow, who would have thought? So yeah, it's real, it's kind of magical, and they made 3 movies of that. So every time she just keeps going back to Home Depot to buy more things, and she loves him more and more.
Harbor Freight. Yeah.
And then she's like, I wish they would have cut this 2x4 about 5 inches shorter. This dude's too tall.
Yeah, but girls really like tall boys, so that's why.
Yeah. God,
I mean, you're really kind of missing out with that.
Grade A quality joke right there, Emma. Just fantastic. Oh my God. But yeah, and then I mean, Spaeny, who got this role based off
I knew nothing about her.
Well, most people didn't either. She got this role recommended by, who, Jay, right? You know who recommended this role?
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
No, but I guess the Sofia Coppola version of Michael Jordan, because she worked with her on Civil War, Kirsten Dunst suggested to Sofia Coppola to cast Cailee Spaeny, and she championed her really hard. And then she got the role, and they made it.
I love
really
that.
quickly.
That she said that in like an interview last week, right? Okay,
yeah, I do remember seeing.
Well,
that.
I love that. And if Sofia Coppola is going to listen to anybody, it is her homegirl, Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, damn. Plemons is like second to Kirsten. I would, I mean, or their husbands, I guess, are second to none. Like she's not going to listen to Plemons. No, I would listen to Plemons.
I wouldn't think so.
I would listen to Plemons.
Sophia 1, Plemons 2. That's the hierarchy.
I would think so. I mean, Sophia's been in her life longer. It's fair.
I mean, that's true.
That's true. Unless she was watching Like Mike.
I was about to say she didn't make Like Mike though, so I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of
Like
a
Mike.
falter there.
I kind of forget how long we've had Jesse Plemons in our lives. He's been around for
Virgin
like 20 years.
Suicides came out before
Like Mike. Yeah, I think like
He's been
Mike's
around
like
for
what?
a long-
2003, 2004, and
Yeah, something like that.
Virgin Suicides is 99. So yeah.
He's been around for a long time, and yet everybody just knows him from like Game Night onward.
Yeah,
Breaking
that's
Bad.
For the
true.
most part.
Breaking
for the
Bad.
most part.
Right. Well, I know him. I will forever know him as Landry from Friday Night Lights. I
Yeah, I
will
didn't watch
forever know him.
I
as
will
that.
know him as the Game Night guy with the cute little white dog.
That's true.
How is that
How is that profitable for Frito Lay?
Frito-Lay.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest jokes ever. And he's so I think Plemons is turning into a top 5 guy for me, Jay.
Top
Any-
5 guy for you.
Yeah, like
What
currently
recently?
of current actors.
I mean, obviously he
he's a
was
top
good
5
in
guy.
Killers of the Flower Moon, but he's like 7th most important guy in that movie.
He's great in Power of the Dog.
He's good. Yeah, he's really good.
He's never bad.
You saw Civil War. I haven't seen that yet.
He is phenomenal in that movie. It's one scene. He's just a scene stealer. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's always a scene stealer. Literally the definition of one.
I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, Jesse Plemons is going to be like Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's going to steal scenes for years, and then he's going to get a vehicle, he's going to get a lead performance, and he's going to win an Oscar. It's totally going to happen.
I hope you're right.
Oh, I think it's totally going to happen. Yeah, there's a great respect for him.
Possible.
He selects pretty much a Best Picture nominee every single year. Judas and the Black Messiah, The Irishman, Power of the Dog, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is a high bar, my friend.
I think Plemons has been in more Best Picture nominees than Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's great. He hasn't been in as many great movies as Philip Seymour Hoffman.
The ones we just listed off are pretty good.
Those are pretty
They're very
great movies.
good.
Those
They're
are
very
very good movies, Jay.
And also, it's he
I would
hasn't-
include Game Night in that too.
Yeah.
That's a great film.
But yeah, Game Night better than Along Came Polly.
I like Jesse Plemons a lot.
Don't be hating on the Plemons.
No, I'm not.
So, anything else you guys want to mention about Priscilla, Jay?
Yeah. So I was at dinner with my mother-in-law this evening, and I mentioned to her that we were talking about the film Priscilla.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately said, I need you to talk about the fact that I still think Elvis is alive. So I'm going to read off some notes that she sent to me.
By the way, Plemons is in Bridge of Spies, and you love Bridge of Spies too. So.
I love Bridge of Spies, but again,
And-
super small role.
In the Post.
He plays the lawyer in that, right?
I think
Who's
so.
dating his daughter.
Yeah, and he's in The Master.
He has been like super small.
I'm just
I like
telling
Jesse
you.
Plemons a lot.
I'm
I
telling
like
you, he's
Jesse
in a
Plemons
lot of great
lot.
movies. That's a lot of
I
great
don't
movies
even-
that Jay loves.
I don't even remember him in The Master, and I just recently
He
remembered
plays
that.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's son in The
Oh,
Master.
hilarious.
Maybe
Oh my
a
God.
heir apparent because he's technically his son in The Master. Think
Right.
about
He
that.
simply does not have anything close to resembling the career of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I like Jesse Plemons a lot, but come on.
I don't know.
So
He's just starting out, all right.
I mean, to
He's
start
got- he's
out
got
for the
plenty.
last 10
yeah,
years.
but the thing
pretty
is,
good.
Philip Seymour Hoffman was already he started.
He had 20 years before he won for Capote. Like, come on.
Yeah, but he was already in like the 6 PTA movies or whatever by then, right?
Yeah.
He has not found his PTA yet, right? And
No, I
hope it is.
wouldn't say so. Though he's been in the last 2 Scorsese, so maybe it's Scorsese. Maybe it's
I like
Scorsese in
I
this.
like Plemons a lot.
He should have been the lead in Killers. Would have been.
That was a rumor for a long time.
Yeah, it would have been really good. He would have probably got an Oscar nominated over.
Yeah, but that movie absolutely rocks. I wouldn't change the thing.
Yeah, well, I would change that, but it still rocks nonetheless. Anyway, what were you saying about
Anyway,
Elvis and your
Elvis,
conspiracy theories?
apparently, per my mother-in-law, still alive. There is a gentleman by the name of Bob Joyce who is a pastor
Oh, Jesus.
in
Literally.
Arkansas. And this is a big conspiracy theory that Bob Joyce is Elvis. And there are clips of him singing, and some people are saying he has similar scars to those of Elvis. And I just wanted that on the record because
I'm looking at this guy right now. He looks more like Kenny Rogers than he does.
that's exactly
Elvis.
what I said when I saw him, Ryan. That's very funny.
What was his name again? Bob.
It's
Joyce?
Bob Joyce.
Pastor Bob Joyce.
I don't. That's Kenny Rogers.
That is Kenny Rogers.
That's
What?
that's the chicken guy. That's not.
Listen to him sing them.
We're not going to do that on the show.
So are you telling us that First Reformed is a sequel to Elvis then? Rev?
Yeah, because
The
it's about
Rev?
a pastor. Yeah.
Rise of
The
a
Rev?
Pastor. There you go. It's an inside joke for before we started recording this show. Well, I mean, there's a ton of conspiracy theories. There's also people that don't believe that we can go to the moon. So,
Right, I'm just telling you what I was told to say.
what do you believe? Did
All
you
right.
listen to him? Were you convinced?
I think he's hanging out with Tupac in the Bahamas.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Princess Diana as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Just anybody that is famous never
And
died.
the first Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The first Paul McCartney, I found out about that just a couple of years ago, and I was like, wow, people were really doing that, huh?
Mhm.
Like,
Also Adolf Hitler escaped to Argentina and just lived it up in Buenos Aires.
that one I almost kind of believe, to be fair.
There's also the Avril Lavigne. We're on the second Avril
yeah.
Lavigne clone theory,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
quite enjoy.
There's the John Oliver, that bit of that the Olsen twins aren't actually the Olsen twins. You've never seen them together in a room. So it's more of an optical illusion of of everything. So
People need to they need to go outside every so often. I think that would be good for people.
that's my favorite phrase. Go touch some grass.
You
Yeah,
should go.
Who's your favorite Olsen?
Um,
Mary
At this
Kate,
point, it would-
Ashley, Elizabeth.
At this point, it would be Lizzie.
yeah.
And yes, we are on first name basis. I call her Lizzie.
Lizzie. It's like Scorsese, Colin Scorsese, Marty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Elizabeth Olsen is the Martin Scorsese of the MCU, apparently. I guess Elizabeth. I mean, that's not like. It's like, which Fanning would you roll with? Would you go with Dakota, or would you go with Elle?
Dakota's having a real comeback here.
She's got the Ripley show out.
She was in Equalizer 3,
Yep.
Reunion with Denzel.
Yeah.
She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right?
Yep. She's in again. She's on the Ripley show with Andrew Scott.
She gave some great performances as a child.
She did. She went
Did
off.
No, there was. I hate her in War of the Worlds. I don't know why she has to scream so much.
But she was in I Am Sam, and that was a pretty good performance from what I recall.
She's great in Man on Fire. She
rules
rules in that movie. She's pretty good for a child performance, and I am.
You know
she's
what?
actually pretty good.
Kirsten Dunst as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old in Interview with the Vampire.
Working with Tom Cruise, and then
Yeah.
Dakota,
Kissing Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what was funny is I watched a video with her recently with Dunst, and she talked about how on that set, Pitt was and Cruise were very protective of her, and Tom orchestrated a birthday party for her and everything. Again, you hear a lot of stories about Tom Cruise as a religious figure, but God damn it, people love him in Hollywood. You're never going to hear about
Spielberg.
Oh,
He
Spielberg
always
doesn't like.
sends-
No, what are you talking about? Spielberg doesn't like him.
No, because of the War of the Worlds press tour.
Yeah, but then
And they seem to have made. They seem to have made.
They seem made mea culpa.
They made what three movies in a row? Two.
They only made War of the Worlds and Minority Report, right?
Yeah, I guess that was just it. But it seemed like they were about to be Leo and Scorsese.
Man,
And then the press
think
tour
that
for
they
War
could-
of the Worlds happened.
I think that they could work together again.
I would
think
love that.
I would love that because I just want to see more.
I would love that more than an Inarritu.
Again, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think here's the thing. He needs to dip his toe into the water, let him make an Inarritu, and then he can go work with he really should work with Nolan. That's really who he should work with. That's
Look what happened with Leo and Iñárritu. He got his Oscar,
He got his Oscar.
for that.
that's fair.
And I
That
feel
is-
like a lot of people
That's why
probably
he's
didn't
doing
think,
it.
maybe a lot of people didn't think that Leo would ever work with him.
Keaton almost got his. God, the Keaton loss still hurts me every single day. Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything. Eddie Redmayne's going to get another Oscar probably in his lifetime for sure. He's going to do some supporting performance, and he's thirsty
Fantastic
enough.
Beasts 4.
Yeah, exactly. He'll do the press tours and everything. He'll do all the interviews for it. Eddie Redmayne will be fine. Michael Keaton's never going to get close to another Oscar again.
What's the cultural legacy of the Fantastic Beasts series?
I don't know. Can't find them.
Those crimes, though. Grindelwald committed those crimes.
He did commit those, and those secrets that Dumbledore had.
I never
legendary.
even saw that one.
It was actually not that bad.
I'm the biggest Harry Potter fan.
You've never seen one of those.
I've refused to watch those.
It just
feels
feels
like any
like
of them.
It just feels unnecessary.
I'm a
right,
huge Harry Potter guy myself, and yeah, I watched the first two and just couldn't be bothered with the third one.
I started watching the first Fantastic Beasts film, and I was like, hashtag not my Harry Potter universe. This is not it for me.
Yeah.
Anything else about Priscilla? Last things. I think the production design.
It's really good. The Dolly Parton song at the end absolutely rocks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think gives like a whole new layer to the film.
And it was
I Will
the
Always Love You.
perfect lyrics too to match up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
I think the movie's impeccably shot. I love I just love, honestly, good on the Presley family for not giving her the music, because like you said, Jay, like the needle drops in this movie, they feel
in their favor.
They feel so much better because they feel more of the time, and it doesn't feel like it's.
It doesn't feel more of the time, which I think is the benefit.
Well, no, like some of the music is, but it feels like it's better purpose than like, let's just put a bunch of his music in there and recontextualize. I feel like that would have honestly been boring, to like take his music and kind of repurpose it to her story. Like I think that
it would have been way more of an overwhelming presence.
I would have been like, I don't like that. Like I mean, obviously we didn't get to see it. So they would, but that was her initial intent, if I'm not mistaken, to kind of do that. And maybe it would. I mean, I don't trust Sofia Coppola. She probably would have knocked it out of the house, and probably wouldn't have just been like, let's play a Jailhouse Rock 300 times or whatever. You know what I mean? But it would, I think it would have made the vibe of the film feel different than what it is. And I think that her going back to this
puts Priscilla at the center.
Yeah.
Doesn't distract from it being her story. For sure.
I also absolutely love the costumes in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Every single
the Sophia
dress,
special.
Every single dress is so beautiful and like so perfectly tailored. Even the ones that are like quote frumpy and don't work on her. It's like, are you kidding me? This is like the most beautiful thing ever. And that dog, oh my God, I love that little dog so much. The dog should have gotten a supporting actor nomination or actress nomination. I'm not sure.
I thought the wedding dress scene, like the my background tonight.
Yes.
That is such a beautifully shot sequence. It was like initially, I think the teaser trailer, and it just, it's like, that's supposed to be your happiest day of your life. And she didn't seem like she enjoyed.
Oh, them taking the picture in
oh yeah.
Like the indifference on their face.
Oh, I thought, Jay, you were going to talk about like when they're taking the family portrait. And
that too.
Oh, well, that too. Yeah.
That is
definitely
brutal.
Where she at one point just say, are we done? Or
yeah, she was like, okay, I think we got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's a ton of sequences. I mean, at times, just because of the way Elvis is and how controlling, and also just how even like bipolar he is in a lot of moments, like when he
does. There are shades of that.
Yeah. Matt, like the pillow fight, obviously, that turns into like, like you can't just let a man win, which is childlike, but then also like
you can't not win.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a competition. We're just having fun. You know what I mean?
You can't be that rough, baby. If I want to do that, I'll be with a man.
Yeah. And but then I think the whole like him being religious and talking about like his like religion, talking about God, and that girl is literally in their house, and he's like hitting on her essentially, and she's watching this unfold. And
oh yeah,
a lot of it is like, I am
his
finally
era is fascinating.
It's wild. It's wild shit to watch.
we don't see Tom Parker in this film, but like we get the phone calls and he literally was like, "Yeah, we're done with the spiritual stuff. You can throw the
Yeah.
books away."
Yeah. It's like you can see him get like the anger and also that scared boyness of
He comes off as such like a petulant teenager at
Yeah.
points in this,
Yeah,
in this movie.
and that's also the interesting thing too. Like as much as he is controlling her, he is always being controlled too. Like he's interested in the spiritual stuff, and then the colonel is like, "Nope, we're cutting that down. We're out." And then it's like, "Oh, well, I can't enjoy the thing that I also want to enjoy." So it's like this never-ending cycle of one person stopping this person from doing what they want to do, that person then stopping the other person from doing what they want to do. It's very fascinating.
And
But
that
I'll-
part
yeah.
of the story is interesting because, look, I'm not an Elvis historian, like I'm whatever
no?
on Elvis, but
Oh, that's interesting.
but it feels weirdly in conversation with Baz
Damn.
Luhrmann's Elvis. In that
Damn.
if it wasn't for Luhrmann's Elvis, I wouldn't quite understand
Yeah.
the Tom Parker thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure that was just total happenstance, but it makes those moments in this film hit harder. Which
Yeah.
Jay, I'm so being so mean to you. I'm sorry.
you know, this is the first time we've ever met, folks.
Which is the funny part too.
This is the best. I'm just sitting over here listening. That's all.
I'm just the punching bag. I'll say another sequence I really like when she does her hair in kind of the Priscilla style for the first time. It's like Spider-Man putting on his suit for the first time.
It's like when
It is
Oppie
cut and framed that way.
It's like in Oppenheimer when he puts the hat on and the suit and he walks out into Los Alamos. He's like, "Look at me, I'm Oppen." And like he's like, I put on my
uniform.
I put on my uniform. I put on my suit. You know what I mean? And so it's very much like that. And it's like the shot of like her feet. It's like, oh, okay, two films that have like I was thinking of Barbie a lot also in that scene, but it's completely
The opening
dark
scene
road.
of this film is very Tarantino approved.
Yeah,
Very much so.
that's very much. He was like #1 movie of the year.
As I was saying before, I mean, the makeup and hairstyling is so good in this film because again, like this film was shot, a couple of weeks, and yet it seems like she literally is aging with all of the makeup and the way that accentuates her eyes and her features. And just the change of her hair color from brown to black is like so, I don't know, it's so shocking. And then I do love that in the later part of the film, she goes back to her natural hair color. Like she stops all of the crazy eye makeup. Like she's very much natural and more herself. And I love the story that all of those visual elements play in this film.
Yeah, this film was a 5-week shoot,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Just insane.
The production design of Graceland itself, in that house, it feels so endless, but it's endless walls and rooms of
We only see like 3
boredom.
rooms in Graceland.
Yeah, but they feel as if like
I know. I'm saying I agree with you. It's impressive.
It's super impressive because the mind then wonders of like, this is a palace, and in this palace lies this caged bird again, which is I think that you guys talked about the sort of dog sequence, or that every time she's standing there with all the maids and everybody in the background as he's about to go on to the tour bus and start his level of debauchery. But then you also see the moments where like she's the only guy in the group. You know what I mean? She's the only one like going to Vegas or shooting guns or with a tractor or anything. So it really is like she's there for him to be at home, and yet his mind, he can't. It is interesting because like at times you're like, you can see he's like, he wants to be there and he's attentive and he loves her and everything, and he gives her just enough, just a taste, and then he's right back into his other worlds, and it's very like it's like a manic teenage boy just kind of jumping from like next shiny thing in front of me, next thing, next celebrity star, next movie project, next song I'm doing, the spiritual leader stuff. When they're in bed and she's, he's kind of like telling her off. Like he sounds like any idiot that has ever like found religion when they're like 25 years old and or like through a self-help book or some crap like that. And it's really funny. The movie is really funny too. There's a couple of sequences like you talked about the makeup and hair, Emma, when she gets off the plane from her initial visit and her parents are there and it's like back to reality, but also like it's funny, but then it's also like she's come back exactly the way that they thought that she would come back. And I think the ultimate one of the more devastating characters in this film is her father. Her father, who, Vernon, or no, not Vernon, her stepfather, I guess, and he's the captain, right? And every time he's trying to prevent her from going on a date with him or everything, Elvis kind of smoothly talks to him, or he allows her to go over there because of the schools and everything. But when they're married, right before they're about to get married, and she's just like looking at him for his approval, he's just like, what am I going to tell you? Like, it doesn't matter what I say. So just go, you have my blessing. But it feels like for a man that's in the military, he completely lost the battle in the war with this and lost his daughter forever. And when I was watching the second go around, I was kind of watching it through those moments of her family, because the minute she's married, it's the last time we see them. They are completely cut out of the picture of this movie. And so she is his ultimate family until she has the kid, and then she wants to be liberated. And I also think it's kind of cool that like she just goes to California, goes out to dinner with some friends, and does a little, karate, and realizes, I don't need him anymore.
I actually love that dinner scene. The dinner scene when he comes back from tour and how like nobody is talking to her and she doesn't really look part of the group, versus her own dinner scene at
she's
her
the
home.
center.
She's the center of it. Everybody's loving what she's talking about. She's just having a fun conversation with her karate instructor. I love those two parallels.
Yeah. She actually has something interesting to say. So
Sofia Coppola, she's got just a great eye for an impactful image.
I think that she might have a long career, Jay, at the end of this series of being a director. I don't know. Maybe
what should she make next?
Whatever the hell she wants.
Days of Heaven remake.
I don't know.
I mean, whatever the answer is whatever she wants.
Well, the answer is whatever she wants. She
could make a really good Princess Diana film too. Very much like how we had Spencer.
How we had like Spencer and Jackie. Like she makes her own trilogy about like interesting. That's interesting. I like that.
But who else could we do? We've already gotten the Diana. Who's the next lonely celebrity we could do?
Make her do the Britney Spears film.
Yeah. Or we could do the
That's
Kate
going to happen.
It seems like there still might be room for an Amy Winehouse picture based on the reactions.
Yeah, I'm feeling that this. Well, you're not saying Back to Black got it right?
It seems people are not reacting terribly positively to that one.
No, it couldn't be. That I got to tell you, that trailer, before we start closing out here, that trailer has to be one of the most misleading trailers of historical fact I've ever seen in my life. They are touting that romance, which is one of the most toxic romances ever like recorded in the last like 15, 20 years, of just like how it led to her alcohol and drug addiction and ultimately her sad death. They're laying it off in the trailers as if like they're portraying it as if it's like this great love story, like it's freaking Titanic. And it's like it would be like if they did a Nirvana movie and they hyped up Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain. You're like, wait a minute here. Like that's there's a lot of things I think you might be glossing over again. But yeah, no, I did historical figures. That's, man, now Emma's got me thinking of all the different people that Sofia Coppola. Because also too, I think that the like Marie Antoinette and Priscilla Presley, they're interesting characters for her. Also, it feels like as a director that she identifies when reading about their stories and struggles and how they were put under the
Actually,
microscope and everything.
actually, another possible royal, Meghan Markle.
That could be somebody.
Maybe not Sofia Coppola, but
Maybe
I'm sure
no.
that there is a story in the works about that.
I think that there is though an interesting thing about her going back to these period worlds every now and then,
Mhm.
getting for a movie that's $20 million, which is, I mean, and every cent is on the
This
screen.
movie doesn't feel huge.
No, it doesn't. But its ideas and what it's talking about does, Jay. Like,
Also, inflation. Hello.
yeah, I mean, like
Yeah, at this point,
I mean,
this movie cost about $65 million.
Yeah.
You been to the
from
grocery
this year
store
to last
lately?
year.
Seriously.
But like,
What's
no,
the
I mean,
deal
like,
with grocery store prices?
I mean, Elvis was what, like $100 million movie?
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
Elvis was very, very expensive, and it feels much bigger than this movie.
Yeah, well, it does. But this is an A24 $20
It's a
million film.
very effective, it's a very efficiently made film. Yeah.
They're bumping up the.
not nothing, but yeah.
No, it's not nothing. I mean, it only made like 33 million at the
Yeah,
box
yeah,
office.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, like, the world's not looking for her to,
No.
break
I think
records
she
with
could
it.
maybe correct the void caused by she could make the Marilyn Monroe movie.
Interesting. Oh,
You
like
know?
she could get rid of the bad taste of blonde
Yeah,
out of
we need
everybody's
to
mouth.
redo. We need to
I'm saying we could
scrub
take
that a little
I
bit.
think we could take a second stab at it.
But also
That's
let that woman
interesting.
rest. We do need to let that woman rest finally.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. And you know what's going to be the craziest thing by the end of this episode or next week? I'm going to have a great answer for this. Right now, my mind is blanking on it. Jay,
Yes.
before we get out of here,
Mm-hmm.
we had to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, which was Priscilla,
Yeah.
in a segment we like to call "It's an Honor to Get Nominated." Now, Jay, this one should be fresh on the mind, and Emma, for since you're first time guest, you don't know. Jay is he's getting better at it, but he's still very novice level in comparison to myself and myself in the awards season field. So we like to test his knowledge a little bit since he's and he's been learning a lot. He's been getting a little bit more of appreciation for the Oscars.
I
as
refer
things
to
have gone on.
myself as an Oscar skeptic.
There you go. And so this one should be fairly easy for you since this movie came out
I
last
think
year.
So
So, Jay Ledbetter, was Priscilla nominated for any Oscars?
I believe, remarkably, stupidly, this was nominated for 0 Oscars.
That is correct. How many Golden Globes was this nominated for?
You're asking me about the Golden Globes.
Yeah, I throw a curveball in there.
How did this do with the AARP Movies for Grown-Ups Awards?
I'll look that up. It actually, it might be a little too subversive for them. But
They
I'll
still
look
do
that up.
those?
They still do the AARPs. Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon
That's
won
cool.
Best Picture, I believe.
I don't know. Was this nominated for nothing at the Globes as well? I feel like
No,
No, you're incorrect.
you're incorrect, Jay.
what did it get nominated for?
Cailee Spaeny was nominated for Best Actress in,
Oh, that's cool.
in a drama.
That was
Yeah.
a good one. A good little
Very
pick in
good,
there.
very good nomination by them.
I truly think when we did our awards, I think she was my winner.
Was she your
I thought she
winner?
was remarkable. I think so.
This was nominated for the award at the AARP Awards for Grown Up. This was a nominee for Best Time Capsule Movie.
Oh, that's cute.
What
That's
a
kinda-
category.
That's a
Wow.
cute one, right?
That's one
Jay-
for that's a category for the boomers.
Jay, do you know who won Best Actor at the AARP Awards?
Okay, so best actor at the AARPs. I mean, I don't know, Killian.
No.
Then I don't know.
Coleman Domingo for Rustin.
That's a
Oh.
time capsule film.
Right? You would think it would be Giamatti had that one in the back.
True.
You know who won Best Actress?
Ryan, this is a long app already. This is
Annette
ridiculous.
Bening.
Annette Bening for
Yeah.
Nyad. Just
Look at
keep
that.
swimming. Just keep
Just got to
swimming.
keep thinking about what a boomer in myself would vote for.
The best movie for grown-ups, the nominees were Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie, Invisible Beauty, which is I don't even know what that is.
I literally do not know what that is.
It's a documentary about it looks like a pioneering black model, modeling agent, and activist. So it's a documentary.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I reviewed that film and I forgot.
Yo, there you go. Quite memorable.
Oh, she did. You gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
I did.
Maestro, Oppenheimer, and The Color Purple and Killers of the Flower Moon won the best feature at the for grown-ups at the ARP Awards. There's your ARP. The Oscars last year. Emma, would you have nominated Priscilla for anything at the Oscars last year?
Yes,
After
I
this
absolutely
rewatch?
would have. I would have loved to have nominated it for costumes and makeup at least.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not a production design nom? Although it didn't have, as we said, it only had like 3
I gotta tell you,
rooms.
I have perfect replacements for the production design and the costume design. I
Okay,
would
great.
nominate Priscilla, and I would take Napoleon straight out of those things. Like not
Yeah,
even close.
I fully agree. I would have loved to have seen both Cailee and Jacob somehow make it into the lineups, but that's probably a tougher battle.
Get
Jada-
Carey Mulligan out of here.
Oh no! Don't do that
Oh,
to Carey
she
Mulligan.
was really
no,
good.
she's
Get her
good
out
in that
of
movie.
I would take out
Annette.
Annette.
I take out
would
Annette
out-
Bening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. You can take out either of them. Take them both out. Let's do a four nominees.
No, I would.
That's chaos.
The next person I actually would take out is Emma Stone. I would not take out Carey Mulligan. Yeah, I know.
I think Emma Stone is quite good.
There's another actress that we're going to talk about May December. There's an actress that I would put in.
I don't think I can find a place for Elordi.
I'd take out
I'll put it in
Sterling.
screenplay.
I would take Sterling K. Brown out for American Fiction and put Jacob Elordi in there. Of course, I would replace.
Oh, Sterling K. Brown is great.
Yeah, but I like Elordi better. Like
I'd take
Elordi's-
American Fiction, the winner, out of screenplay and put Priscilla in there.
I
Okay.
can do that. It's a good adaptation. I think it's very,
It's a very
good.
good adaptation.
It's quite good, yeah.
The makeup and hairstyling. I agree with.
That's a layup.
I'm taking Golda out and I'm putting Priscilla in. And yeah, I mean that's kind of.
I think that's it.
That's kind of it, right?
That's
Would you-
pretty good. That's what, 5, 6 noms?
It deserves.
That's-
Would you put?
that's
Oh
deserving.
no! Director, picture. Would you do that? No.
No,
You wouldn't put it in picture.
no.
You wouldn't take out like
Oh,
American
I mean,
Fiction
of
and
the
put it in.
nominees, I like this more. I'm just kind of, when you said that, I was thinking just about my top 10 at a time.
No, buddy.
I
Well,
like, I like Priscilla better than American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Maestro,
In the zone of
Four
interest.
Things, and the Zone of Interest. So I like this better than, how many was that? 6 or
Most of
7 I
them.
just said? Yeah.
Yeah, the only 2 you didn't say, I think, at that point was Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer.
That might
Yeah.
be right. I mean, but it's not even in my top 20 of the year.
I would not give it the win in picture or director though, because I mean, it's hoppy. It's hoppy.
It's Oppie.
Yeah. Emma,
It's
did you like
hoppy.
hoppy?
I did. The first time I watched it, I really was not into it. But then when I rewatched it, knowing what it was, because I didn't think it was like
Yeah.
a 3-hour courtroom drama, basically.
No, I did not. Honestly, I didn't expect that going in either.
Yeah. So
I
the
was
second
thrilled.
time, once I knew what I was in for, I was like, this is checking all the boxes now. I better understand the flow of this film.
Kind of rules.
It's a 3-hour dialogue heavy film that feels like Mad Max Fury Road to me.
And it made $970 million.
It's good.
It's going to be the ultimate anomaly, I think. Going well, I mean, it's probably just because it's Christopher Nolan. You can't.
Honestly, Barbenheimer, that was a huge thing
It was a
too.
big thing.
It definitely boosted the box office of, I would say, more
Totally.
that movie than Barbie, but
I think it helped both of them.
it boosted them both.
I think it
It
helped them
boosted both
both.
of them.
I
Yeah.
think Barbie
That-
would have been a success, but like I think the double
Not a-
billing
maybe
and
not a
everything.
billion.
Yeah,
That was fun. That was a fun time
That
to
was
be
a fun
alive.
time.
Yeah.
That was a
It's
fun
like
time.
$1.5 billion. Yeah. Remember when like we used to get like really good movies in the summer and now the summer looks bleak as hell?
Saw Barbie by myself. Thought it would
you
be
s-
an empty theater. It was just nothing but me and moms and their preteen daughters. And
And
Why
that's
didn't
how
you,
it should
going
be.
to
you
get
didn't take the wife?
arrested. I had a half day that day for work or something, and she was working. And I was like, I haven't been to a movie with my wife in,
3 years?
I think the last movie we saw together was The Master in 70. And I think that was like
Oh my
8 or
God.
9 months ago.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I got a kiddo
understandable.
now.
She is busy and
Oh.
you guys got a kid.
We got a kiddo.
He needs to, I mean,
He
he'll
needs
grow
to
up.
grow up.
Yeah,
He
he needs
needs
to
to
grow
really
up a little
grow
bit so
up.
y'all can all go to the movies
Yeah.
together.
You
think
guys
he
should
would,
be
like-
able to go and see Kong this weekend or something
Do
like
you think
that.
he would like the
Kong versus-
first Omen?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You should. I think you should take the whole family. I love that film. So
Yeah, like
you
a
should.
2-year-old just like going into the first Omen.
It's about children.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's loosely about that. Yeah, all right, Jay. I'll give
Maybe you
that.
should also take him to see Civil War as well. Just like the loudest film of
You
all
know
time.
what? Honestly, start him young. Get that political perspective right in there. Just get him.
Yeah, one
the
of the
cynical.
great movie experiences I ever had was we went to see The Northman while my wife was like 7 months pregnant or
Oh,
something.
that's right. You told me this.
And that movie is loud as hell. That movie's
Yeah.
so loud, and the music is just banging. And
Thumping.
he loved the music, and he was like kicking in her belly like the whole time. And it was a very,
He was
a very
he was
magical
foot stomping.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one time where I went and saw it was a Claire Foy like horror film from a few years ago. If you guys remember it.
Claire Foy.
Claire Foy.
Not the
yes.
Soderbergh movie.
No, I wish I could remember what it is now, but it's like I'm just seeing the poster of her. But it was like a horror, creepy, psychological film. I just turned behind me and like, yeah, mom with a 2-year-old child in the movie theater, and I'm like, I can't be mad
Awesome.
at her. I can't be mad at her because that would probably be me.
Was it Unsane?
Break them in
Yes,
while they're young.
that one.
It's Unsane.
that
Yeah,
was the
that's
Soderbergh
Soderbergh movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
No, it's not a. It's not a good.
That movie's
I didn't like-
bad. That's
I didn't
actually one of
I
my
didn't
least
like that
favorite
movie.
sodies.
I do love a soda pop though. He's got an interesting little movie coming out this year
Yeah. that'll
where
be
I
good.
think it's like a ghost story where where like you're following the entity rather than following the family. Anyway,
Ryan,
all
should we
right.
rank Sophia's?
well, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Let's do it. End of the series.
Emma, do you have a Sofia Coppola ranking or
What's your favorite
Um,
Sophia?
what's your favorite?
I would say that Lost in Translation is my favorite.
Okay, all right,
A great film.
very good. All right, Jay, you want to take it from
Okay.
8 to 1?
I'll take it from 8 to 1.
Okay.
So my number 8 is The Bling Ring.
Do you want me to do
Boo.
mine? Do you want me to do mine at the same time with you?
No, I'll just do all my 8.
Oh,
and
okay.
then you
Well,
go.
I thought it could be fun, but you're opposed to that.
Okay, you know what? Let's do it that way.
No,
You
I
said
think
it.
I
What's
want
your
to do
number
it.
8.
No,
What's your
I
number
just
8?
no, I just want yours. I don't want to do
Okay.
mine now.
My number 8 is
My
The
number
Bling
8
Ring.
is No, I'm just kidding. Go, Jay.
My number 8 is The Bling Ring. My number 7 is The Beguiled.
Mhm.
My number 6 is On the Rocks. My number 5 is Priscilla. So, just to be clear, her last 4 movies are the 4 in the bottom half.
Mm-hmm.
My number 4 is Lost in Translation. My number 3 is Marie Antoinette. My number 2 is Somewhere. And my number 1 is The Virgin Suicides.
All right. So my number 8 is The Bling Ring.
We're off to a.
Boo!
start.
You guys don't know how to have fun.
We don't really
Don't know
care
how to
for
have
that
fun.
We don't know
we
how
think
to
it's- We think it's okay.
We don't know how to have fun, but we do know how to rob. All right.
I've never.
I
I've,
want to go to Paris's house. I want
Thank
to
you.
rob.
I want to rob. All right.
I don't think Sofia
So-
Coppola has made a bad movie. To be
No,
clear.
I don't. Well, I don't think The
I
Bling
think I
Ring's
like
bad.
The Bling
I
Ring
just
slightly more. Than
I like talking about The Bling Ring,
Yeah, that was our.
but I don't. But watching it, maybe not so much. It's an interesting movie. My number 7 is The Beguiled. My number 6 is On the Rocks.
matchy so far.
Wow.
My number
Yeah.
5 is Priscilla.
Matchy.
My number 4 is Somewhere.
Okay.
My
Finally,
number
diverge.
My number 3 is Lost in Translation.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 is Marie Antoinette.
Wow, I did not think Virgin Suicides would be your number 1.
And my number 1 is The Virgin Suicides.
Wow.
I do have to admit, I have not seen The Virgin Suicides or Somewhere. Those are the two that escaped me.
You gotta watch Virgin Suicides.
Emma, Virgin Suicide. This was I had not seen it before we did this series, and
And look
I
at
think
you,
it's,
big fan.
Love it.
Both
I'm
of
not-
you big fans.
I mean, it's maybe easily one of the best debuts of the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say her first film
Yeah.
still holds up well.
It's remarkable.
It's-
And it's also her least opulent film.
Yeah. It's
really interesting. It's very different than most of her stuff.
It very much is, but it's such a, from the get-go, you understand her vision. And then like Marie Antoinette is just, I mean, obviously that movie is fantastic. And I'm splitting hairs between all these, like, I think the Beguiled, Blingren's the only one at like 2.5, 2 stars. Beguiled's 4 star. Everything from Somewhere to The Beguiled was 4 stars. 4.5 for me for Marie Antoinette and Lost in Translation, and 5 stars for The Virgin Suicide. So like, it's all very close. These are all great movies. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed the hell out of doing this series.
So it was a fun series.
This was really fun series. So before we get out of here and announce next week's start to our new series, Ema Sasic, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Emma. You
And
were only
talking-
sort of mean to me.
I think she's going to come back and play referee again and put us in our
Honestly,
in our place.
Ryan, this was one of our more focused episodes in
Wow.
weeks.
That's not
This
true.
this was a good.
That's not true.
That
You
is
need
true.
me.
Somewhere
You need
was
me.
very focused. Marie
Somewhere
Antoinette
was
was
pretty
very
focused.
focused. Lost in Translation. This
Marie
series,
Antoinette was not. Ryan,
Lost in
we
Translation
don't have
was-
focused episodes with Sophia.
that's true.
So,
You know, Bling Ring episode was focused. It was we for the most part.
episode was not that.
You're acting like we're just off the rails every single week. And last week, it
Emma,
was
what I'm
definitely-
saying is, you were a great guest, and
Thank
thank you
you.
very much for coming on.
Thank
Yes.
you, boys, for having me. I had a really fun time. It was nice to revisit this film, and yes, I hope I didn't poke too much fun at you guys. But
No,
it was I
great.
liked matching.
I
I
didn't-
liked matching our energies here.
I didn't get made fun of at all, which was great.
We're gonna have you back for our. I'm trying to think of who would be the worst series we could.
No,
possibly
don't do that to her. That's
Oh,
that's
come
mean.
on. Oh, come on.
No, I was just trying to make a joke about a series that we would never actually do.
Yeah, we would never do like a. Oh, it's a bad director.
This
we
bit
never-
is just really.
We would
falling
never
flat
do
on its
Darren
face.
Aronofsky. Yeah, let's-
No,
Hey, I like some of his stuff.
but then
Black
some.
Swan.
we'll
But
have
then
you
some
back
of
on
his.
for the whale.
Oh, there. You said it. You said the Aronofsky film that I don't care for.
Yeah, it's most of the guests that usually come on this show are not a fan of that. So, Emma, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
Of course, you can find me on Twitter /X/ whatever you want to call it at Emma_Sasic. That's where I post my next best picture reviews and podcasts, my own podcast series, the Weekly Pop with my friend Kevin, and the occasional AwardsWatch piece. I am also on Instagram and Letterboxd at Ema Sasic.
Go follow all of her stuff. She's amazing. We love Emma. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you.
J-Dog,
Yes.
before we do your exits and all that stuff,
Mhm.
we have to announce our new series. that we're
Oh,
starting
that's
next
right.
week.
I guess we do. Yeah.
And I think that's just going to be our movie recommendation of the week, also too, unless you've got something in the chamber that I don't know about. But Jay, I'm going to give you the full honors here
Yeah.
to announce the new series that we're starting next week.
I got 2 words for you, everybody. Dudes rock. All right. This is going to be our Dudes Rock series.
It's a perfect summer series, honestly, when you really think.
It
No more,
is-
no
it
more
is.
women, just dudes.
Yeah, we've checked that off the list.
Oh,
We're
God.
done with
God.
female filmmakers.
Don't enable him, Emma. Please don't do that. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
We're doing Tony Scott.
Yes, we are.
I'm so excited. We're doing Tony Scott. And Ryan, that movie is going to be how long? It's a long one. Is it 12?
It is. I'm going to count it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Jay's right. It's 12 episodes.
12 movies.
12 movies.
That's a long one.
That's a
Just
lot
guys,
of.
you know what? It's just called Guys Being Dudes on the podcast.
Guys being dudes.
We don't have just male guests coming on.
Presented by Monster Energy and
Bowflex.
Budweiser.
Hooters.
Yeah.
Yes. We're actually recording every episode at a Hooters. Which
nice.
will be awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I'm sure both of our wives would enjoy that.
They've got great chicken wings.
They do. Well, it is a family restaurant now. They do try to establish
They have
themselves
what's the family friendly one called? Hoots? Is it called Hoots? They've got a spin-off. I think it's called Hoots.
Please tell me that's not a real thing.
No, it's definitely real.
No, it's not.
Oh my God.
Is that a real thing? Did I just learn about that today?
I had no
100%.
idea. I did not know that. Please tell me you're not lying.
Hoots Wings by Hooters. Yeah, it's like the
my
family
God.
friendly version of Hooters.
Holy shit.
Called
All right.
Hoots.
I Emma, I swear to God, I thought he was making that up. I thought he was
I did
making
too.
it up.
I did not know this. Also, I do love that like they could just change the name from Hooters to Hoots.
Yeah,
and
they could
actually
just call it
is
Hoots.
Family friendly.
Yeah, they could just but they're not. They're never going to do that. Yeah, Tony Scott next week. First film we'll be doing is the film The Hunger.
Yeah.
And a movie that we almost didn't cover, and then Jay said, "No, we're going to cover it." And so
that's a rocker and a roller.
Yeah, we're starting off strong.
Have you seen that one?
Me?
Yeah.
No. First time watch.
See, I did a Tony Scott watch a couple years ago, so I've seen every Tony.
That's where the inspiration for all this is really coming from. Is from Jay's Madman recording, also like completion style. Where I was just like, I feel like we gotta do Tony Scott. We've done Ridley Scott before on the old show.
Yeah,
we did the Riddler.
I've seen every Tony
now
Scott
we're doing
movie, so
T.
I
Scott.
won't have to necessarily rewatch everything.
But you will rewatch them though, because
I will rewatch almost all of them.
Yeah, I know.
I bet
they're going to be a fun time. We've got
it's going to be awesome.
Guests for pretty much
Nothing
every
but guests.
single episode of that,
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to all those discussions. It's actually like great because Scott's movies are notorious for being released in the summer mostly, and so this will be a great, I think, movie series for director watch during the summer. So,
Ryan actually just texted Emma, said, "Would you like to be on that series?" And Emma said, "Sorry, I don't like Jay." That was rude. But
Excuse me?
you know, it is what it
this
is.
character assassination that's going on here right now?
she didn't say it wasn't accurate. So there you go.
I would never text that. I would just say that.
Fair.
She wouldn't text me that. She'd write it in the sky above your house.
Yeah, she would rent a biplane.
Yeah, a blimp, and just release flyers into your neighborhood.
No, I'm writing on the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, on the
broomstick
broom
and
and like,
writing it
yeah.
in the sky.
Oh my God, I loved that when I was a kid. Jay, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, my friend?
Yeah, lead with Letterboxd. Jay Ledbetter on Letterboxd.
Mm-hmm.
At Mr. J Ledbetter on Twitter. Any writing I may or may not, or probably am not doing on AwardsWatch, and check me at your local Hoots.
Okay, all right.
That's probably where I'm hanging.
Now, are you
No, don't ask follow-up questions.
No,
Don't
I have to.
Okay.
Are you a Hoots, employee? Is that why you're hanging out there all the time?
I feel like a branch manager is.
No. They just when they have a punch card of like 100, and once you get 100 punches on your Hoots card,
you become the branch
you get
manager.
a free appetizer every time you go there. And I'm all about a free app.
What's your go-to?
I'm all about a free
Damn
app.
it! Why am I doing this? Jay, what's your favorite app that you can get out of Hoots?
Yeah, so they have their equivalent of like a bloomin' onion. They call it
He is so ready. He's
they
ready
called
for
it
this.
a fried feather box, and they put it in a box, and then obviously just fry it, and the box itself kind of has an owl.
There's no way that's real.
impression of an owl.
There's no way that's real.
Yeah, it's called a fried feather box, and it
I
kinda
am
gets
not
like
Googling
the
that.
bloomin' onion. It kind of has the sensation of sort of like a group of feathers, like some plumage going on. So that's my favorite app at Hoots.
Sounds
You
like
know
an
what? If that's not real, they really do need to sign you on as like the head, like creative
Head of
director of this
marketing.
place.
Yeah. Hoots, hit me up.
Oh my God. Yeah. We need
Sponsor the show.
We need sponsors for the show. That's
Yeah,
what you're
sponsor the
saying.
show.
Scott. Tony
I mean-
Scott is coming up. Guys being dudes summer. Come on. Only at Hoots.
Do you like wings? And do you like
Tony
wings
Scott.
And
with
Top
the
Gun.
family? Do you like to eat wings after hanging out with your bros on the beach?
What else could you
playing
eat
volleyball?
while watching Top Gun than a fried feather box?
Director Watch Podcast presents Hoots. All right. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade77. You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we do one every Monday with the Awards Watch team that's not as crazy as this show and definitely does not have Hoots as a sponsor. And that releases every Monday, this releases every Thursday. iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews. We'd greatly appreciate it. That really helps us out. Just search the Awards Watch podcast. It helps all of us just be able to get this wonderful show out there in good vibes. Only 5 stars, please. We don't want anything else. We don't ask for much other than, some Hoots gift certificates as well. What else? Eric, yes, he puts together the newsletter twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. Go sign up for that on the website. It's the best way to get all the reviews, interviews, podcasts, everything in between, news going on in the world, sent to you all in one place. Next week, like I said, we'll be back. We'll be talking about our first film in the Tony Scott movie series, The Hunger. So until then, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.